We have 12 video sales calls best practices that we're going to talk about. They're very principle-based. Now, these are all small things, as I mentioned earlier, but I promise they're going to make a huge difference. Video sales call best practice number 7. We are rocking and rolling now, my friends. And hopefully I've been doing this one the entire time we've been having a conversation, which is wearing a smile. That's right. Number 7 is wear a smile. You say, well, Marcus, that's kind of obvious. Oh, no. Do you realize one of the most consistent observations that I hear from sales pros once they start to really observe themselves on camera is, I don't smile nearly as much as I should. And so when you're listening to your audience, when you ask a question and they talk to your prospect, to your customers, make sure that you're leaning in and that you're nodding and that you're smiling and you're essentially giving them energy as they're talking to you. And so let's make sure that we're not only wearing that smile, but we're looking for it. And one last thing I want to say about this, you might say to yourself, well, smiling's just not my thing. I'm just not a really smiley person. Well, that's too bad because we chose the profession of sales. And so if you chose the profession of sales, you gave up the right to say that smiling is just not my thing. Now, it doesn't or need not be insincere. I'm not espousing that at all. And so you want to learn to naturally smile the entire time. You'll see that you present and you communicate at a higher level while doing it. All right, so let's make sure we are wearing that smile. Number 8 video sales call best practice. Face the light. It's a good recommendation for life. Great recommendation for video. I'll give you an example right now. What do you see? You see me pretty well, right? You see me pretty well because there's a lot of light coming at me in this very moment. In fact, on the other side of the camera, there's a lot of windows that are staring at me. I'm actually looking outside as we talk, kind of. But I've got great natural light. I even have a few other lights making sure that I have full light. And then behind me, we don't really have much light. Now, we have what you may or may not realize in this case is a sheet that makes a background. But the way that this is set up, you don't have to do when you have your calls, but you do want to make sure you've got great light. Because we've all seen that person where they've got the window behind them, which you don't want that. We see it all the time. The window's behind them, because they have so much light coming in on them, it washes them out. And you can't even really see them on camera. We've all seen that person. And so make sure that you're always looking at the light's looking at you, not behind you, therefore looking at the camera. You don't want the light looking at the camera. You want the light looking at you. That's the idea. That is the goal. Now make sure if you have a sales team that you test everybody on this. Make sure that you have a call where everybody is able to look at each other and say, okay, here's my office setting, if you will. This is my work from home office setting. When I have a video sales call, this is how I'm going to look. And this will give you a chance for everyone to look and say, okay, this person's light's great, this person's light not so much. Change the angle, change the camera, change your lighting. And this way they can get some real-time feedback and it's more effective for everyone, okay? So let's make sure we are facing the light. Number 9, video sales call best practice. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it? This one has to do with, again, creating that proper setting, that proper look on camera. And it is your posture, the way you sit or the way that you stand. Let's make sure that we're always as upright as possible. If you look at me right now, I'm upright and I'm sitting on a bench, but I still have, or stool rather stated, I still have one foot on the floor. And that's because I want to feel like I am able to use my full body. When you sit back, and that's what you don't want to do, when you sit back, what happens is you use your hands less, so you gesticulate less, and you have just the energy level tends to go down the more your body and your shoulders go down. And so it's pretty powerful if you ever have the chance. Watch yourself give a presentation, a sales presentation, conversation, whatever it is, standing up, sitting up versus sitting back. It's dramatically different. And so at worst, make sure you're sitting up. Best, stand up. You'll find that you will communicate at your highest levels if you're focused on your posture. Number 10, bling, state the purpose of the call in a clear, incisive, and memorable way. So when we talk about stating the purpose of the call, really, this is the beginning of that video sales call you have. And I've watched many of these, and I've seen many folks share what seems to be an agenda, but oftentimes the way they share it is not memorable. In other words, the person really doesn't know where the call is going. And when done properly, when you state the purpose of the call the right way, there's always a clear if-then statement that is added to it. As in, if this call goes well, then this is what's going to happen next. All right? So you might say, what does that look like, Marcus? So how do we state the purpose the right way? So again, let's say your name is Jenny. Here's how we might start the call. So the purpose of our call this evening, Jenny, is threefold. We're going to do three things as we have this conversation. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pick the perfect swimming pool shape and size for your backyard. Okay, so number one is we're going to pick the perfect swimming pool shape and size for your backyard. Now, after we do that, our second step is to look at options and accessories. So we're going to choose the perfect swimming pool shape and size, and then we're going to choose the right options and accessories for your swimming pool package. Now, once we've looked at the shape and size, we looked at options and accessories, the final thing we're going to do, the third thing we're going to do, is we're going to look at pricing. We're going to price everything out for you today. So shape and size, options and accessories, pricing, and once we do that, assuming the pricing that we give you aligns with your budget, you can then put down a deposit. That deposit will get your name on the calendar and it will allow us to move forward and schedule your site design. How does that sound to you? So, and that's the test. You clearly see where this appointment is going, and there's also a clear if-then. So that is so key. I'm telling you, this number 10, it is, I would venture to say that at least 90% of the sales professionals that I have reviewed just absolutely are not doing this as they should. Great opportunity for improvement. So let's make sure we state that purpose, make it memorable, make it punchy with a clear if-then, and it's going to establish a tone of your sales calls that are going to be dramatically better. Number 11, similar to number 10, but number 11, we talked about how we start. So how do we end? One of the major things to remember is we want to end with clear direction. When I say clear direction, we're talking about, number one, you're the one that's ending the call, not the prospect. Because the authority is the one that brings the meeting to a close. And ideally, we want to do it before they do it. That shows that the pace was what it should be. And so we're the ones that are ending, and how do we end it? Well, we want to make sure we review very clearly what we have mutually agreed to do up to this point. So that's essentially how we want to end the call. Review exactly what we've agreed to, the responsibilities that we both have, the time frames by which we're going to fulfill those responsibilities, make sure we're all on the same page, and we agree, and then we can end the call. So look at your team. Is your team ending the call, or is the prospect ending the call? And how are they ending it? Are we having a verbal agreement at the end, or are we not? We want to make sure we do this every single time. And finally, best practice number 12. Woohoo! You're like, whew, Marcus, I thought we'd never get here. We are here, number 12. Number 12 is simply a culmination of everything we have talked about up to this point, which is this: be the authority, lead the call. That's it. Be the authority, lead the call. So let's make sure we have that authority. How do you get it? You do all the 11 other things that we've talked about up to this point. These 12 best practices of video sales calls. None of them were major. All, though, when put together, will make a major difference. And with every team I've ever talked to, I've never talked to a single organization where their sales team was doing more than half of these consistently. So I'm sure your organization could really work on these right now. Obviously, if you want more hands-on training, reach out to us. We can help you with it. But these 12 will make such a very big difference. Let's start practicing now. Start practicing today. Don't just hear them and say, I'm going to do them. No. Let's start practicing as quickly as we can.